Hey, welcome into Around the League show with your host, James, and myself, Todd Fox, as we are going to talk some Around the League action. We're going to talk All-Star snubs. And what else?
Talk about the home run derby coming up, and then, what was it? Luis Ariz of Miami being great, hitting the Atlanta Braves streaking again. And then some of our favorite All-Star game memories, or home run derby memories.
Mm-hmm.
And then get into some key injuries from last week and the week that was. It's fitting that Anthony Rendon comes up on your screen.
Yeah.
Look at the standings real quick.
Oh, yeah, I'll check it out real quick. But I think you wanted to talk about someone streaking. I think we need to find that real quick. Oh, yeah. Atlanta's what?
Streaking.
Sorry, we're going streaking through the quad and into the gymnasium. Come on, everybody!
So looking at the AL East, and it's amazing because all teams are above 500, unlike the AL Central.
Correct.
It's so weird seeing that. But at one time, they were all aligned with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Remember those memes came out where they were all in order in the standings list. But Tampa Bay right now, they have 57 wins. Atlanta has 56, so that's the first of those.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota leads, they're percentage points ahead of the
Ohio.
Guardians, Ohio.
Yeah.
Everybody's under 500. The AL West, well, you have Texas still there. Houston eventually with Alvarez back will climb up, you would think. The Angels 6 back. Seattle, one of those teams you thought would be going on and doing well. They're 9 back. Of course, you have Oakland.
Well, they're scaring me because they're only 3 back of us, dude. So, I mean, they're on a pretty good win streak to surpass us, and that would be extremely embarrassing.
Yeah, Oakland 28 back, and they're just looking forward to a new home. The Braves in the NL East right there, they lead everything there. Miami only 9 games back, but they're in that wild card. Philadelphia's in it. The Mets aren't, and surprisingly, the Mets are only 4 games above the Nationals for 4th place.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing with the Central, this has been such a topsy-turvy division.
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati, 45 wins somehow. They're tied with Milwaukee for first place. I can't wait till they play each other. By
the way, what's funny about that, if you look at the standings, the Reds and the Brewers are tied with identical records, yet if in the wild card, they're both a 1 game back as division leaders.
Wow. Pittsburgh has fallen, sadly. I think they lost 9 straight until last week. They got better when San Diego came to town. They swept. I don't know, they took, 2 out of 3 against the Padres?
3,
yeah. The Cubs, you knew they were going to fall eventually. And then the Cardinals are there. It feels like one of those years, like, hey, if they could get it together, maybe they can make something happen. But it's never too late, especially in this division. Cincinnati, you can't trust their pitching. They just have to outslug everyone.
No, here's my thing with St. Louis real quick. You know how Yadier Molina retired last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know how he was like a cog to the team and everything else like that. Like his work ethic, everything that he put into that team made the pitching staff good. I think that the Cardinals' biggest problem this year was not upgrading the coaching staff. And I think that's one of the things that you can point to go along with the Angels. As far as they have talent on the freaking Cardinals, we all know that. Not the greatest talent that they've had in previous years, but they have talent to be much better. I think they're hampered as much as we are because of the lack of coaching experience that they have on that squad. And let's just say they get frustrated in another year of losing because St. Louis is traditional winner. Mm-hmm. I would give the keys to Yadier. I mean, everyone looks up to that guy. I mean, they're born leaders, the Molinas.
Yeah, I've noticed that in the years past, especially in WBCs, when Molinas participated, everybody's kind of gravitated toward him.
Yep.
But I think there's still time for St. Louis. That division, looking at the run differential, first place, 2 first-place teams. Cincinnati's -20. Milwaukee's -16. The Pirates, you can't really trust. Somehow the Cubs are. They're getting good pitching. That's basically Stroman right there. But, yeah, I think St. Louis can get back into it. Now, the NL West is just almost turned upside down when you think about it, other from Colorado.
Yeah.
And then you have the Dodgers, who are always there. But Arizona, who we saw firsthand, they lead the Dodgers by 3 games in first. San Francisco is only a half game back of L.A., and then you have everybody else. The Padres 11.5 back, 8 back of the wild card. This team was supposed to be built as a super team, the lineup that can never be beat, the pitching staff that was supposed to be solid.
The bullpen that was supposed to be scary.
Yeah, I mean, they do have Josh Hader.
But that's at the very back end.
Right, you got to get to him.
Yeah.
And we knew Colorado was going to be there. I think they're lucky to have 30 wins. And remember, the owner came out in their, I don't think it was a fan fest or whatever, but in January or December saying, well, hopefully we could be at 500.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll get there, but I think that was their ceiling. It was funny, Michael Jordan one time said the ceiling is the roof, and people went with that, but it really doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
But because he said it means something. By the way, they're Colorado's the only team in the NL West to have a negative run differential. Everybody else has a positive run differential. It's just funny how that goes sometimes. But San Diego, the Mets, they've been the most disappointing teams. We covered that, of course, last week. And it's just been amazing how they've fallen. And now all the trade talks are coming out with Max Scherzer. And I want to take him if my team, the Angels, our team, I want to take him just because of all. I would have the Mets pay for it. But, and they have their host, and the Mets are taking on the Diamondbacks in Arizona tomorrow, by the way. So, looking at their pitching staff, I mean, Senga's been really good, but that's been it.
Yeah.
Everybody else has been underperforming or injured.
Well, Quintana came off the good year. Obviously, he's hurt.
That hurt, yeah.
Verlander and Scherzer, if you look at their numbers right now, Verlander's 3-4 with a 3.66 ERA, but he's had quite a few no decisions. Sounds like familiar with our guys. And then Scherzer's looking at 7-2, 3.87 ERA. So he's not been exactly lights out like years past, but these are guys that are older now, like they're not the most dominant pitchers. And then losing Edwin Diaz was huge because he was not only one of these guys that, pitches great, but you worried about getting there. You know what I mean? Because teams actually feared hearing the trumpet. They don't want the, so you put more pressure on yourself when you're playing them. But when he's not there, it's a little bit easier.
It's such a risk having those two older pitchers, and when you sign them to big deals, more pressure is going to be put on you. And that's just the way that's the Mets thing. That's what they do in New York with the Mets. They spend high, but they lose. They lose a lot.
Here was a guy I wanted the Angels to get.
No.
No, well, I mean, you're saying no, but like Tommy Pham, I know he was a Padre. You know about him, being down in that area. But if you look at what he's done this year, 9 home runs, 34 RBIs, a 295 average, 54 hits in 183 at bats. That's not bad. I would take that right now, considering where our outfield has been. You know what I mean? As far as I'm not putting him over Renfroe, but I'm definitely putting him over Ward. That's just my opinion.
Sean says hell no. Yeah. The thing I remember him from San Diego, one thing off the field.
Okay.
He got stabbed at a strip club.
Oh, that's always cool.
So he was bleeding everywhere. So. And then he came back to play the next year, and he wasn't the same.
Oh, okay.
And then it just seemed like his attitude. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I thought Starling Marte was going to be a little better. Only
he's having a
4 home runs,
year.
25 RBIs, hitting 282. Well, I guess that's standard now, hitting 282. But
look at Robert shit putting him over Ward isn't saying much.
That's true, actually. That's true. It's amazing.
What's up, Rob? By the way, Jim.
Because you would be trading with the Mets and the Angels here, And, of course, in the bigger markets, you have the Yankees and Dodgers.
Yeah.
So trading with the Mets, I guess, would be a little correct here.
Well, and here's another guy that didn't they re-sign him, Jeff McNeil?
Yeah.
Okay, so they re-signed him. He had a career year last year, obviously.
That's what happened.
And so, like, 2022, he was what? Let's see, home runs. He had 9 home runs, 62 RBIs. I remember when we played the Mets, 326 average, dude. I mean, he was getting hits. He was a solid player for them. This year, his numbers are 258, 3 home runs, 24 RBIs. Another Epler do your homework type thing. Because I'm telling you, Epler has effed them up. And my prediction is you'll see one more trade with the Mets. I guarantee the Angels will make one more trade with the Mets. Mm-hmm. I don't know for who, but they're going to make a trade with the Mets.
I got to see like how the rest of half of this month goes, and then they might make a couple of trades elsewhere. They might make a couple of trades elsewhere. That was your hot Mets talk. I didn't think we were going to get into that, but
we'll
to get into the misery of the Mets.
Well, real quick, R. Martinez says fam slap.
That's
Jock
what
Peters.
happened. Correct me if I'm wrong, Martinez, but wasn't that in Trout's fantasy football? Because they disagreed on payment or something.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't want any of that in there, and they're gonna play with each other. I don't think Trout wants that. Remember, he shied away from that question when they were playing the Mets last year on that Sunday night game. ESPN had the question, and Trout didn't want to go into it.
Oh yeah, well Trout, if it's anything controversial, there's no way. Jim once was thinking about Scherzer trying to unload the contract Rendon over there.
Have the Mets pay for it though.
Yeah,
Cohen can pay for it. You have to sell Ward. You throw Squid in. Hell, give Adele to.
Dude, I don't even think the Bay Stars would take a Squid at this point. I mean, we're the only dumbasses that are like, yeah, come back up to the club. I don't know what the hell that is, dude. You got Stefanik down there, Soto. You got all kinds of Jeremiah Jackson's never sniffed the majors yet. Why not give that kid a chance? Why are we bringing up Squid?
That's true, Robert. We always need someone like a Jose Guillen in 04, but
Guillen was so good back then.
I guess everybody's sensitive now. That's what I'm thinking of. Where it's like, if there's more it's more fragile in a clubhouse now.
Correct.
Than it used to be. There's no even Phil Nevin, who we thought was gonna be hard on everyone.
Yeah.
And he's not.
He's not.
So that kind of deterred me from thinking about it. But
yep.
That sucks.
Sean wants Stroman.
I don't know. Let the kids play, I guess.
I still want Stroman.
I did, and then all of a sudden he just, I don't know, he rubbed me the wrong way sometimes, but then it's just the way the game is now.
He's caused you a bunch of
emotional damage.
Let's go.
So the Around the League show.
Yes.
Other from Mets talk. But it's part of the Around the League because them and the Mets have been the most disappointing teams.
Padres, yeah.
Let's get to the All-Star selections. Now, yesterday during the game,
Nevin resolved his issues with pillow fights.
it seems like it.
But go ahead. Yes, I had to read that. That was funny.
It was smokeouts with Joe Madden last year and the year before, and now it's Nevin with pillow fights.
Pillow fights, sleepovers, and 90s movies.
Yeah. All-Star selections came out.
Let's check it out.
Some surprises and some snubs, which I know we all hate it. And it came out, 3 o'clock yesterday during the Angel game.
Correct.
So there was all this intrigue, like who made it, who not. Mm-hmm. Well, let's get to the American League first. The elected starters, Jonah Heim of Texas.
The American League Rangers.
Yandy Diaz of Tampa, Simeon of Texas, Jung of Texas, Seager of Texas. So they have 4 of the 5 infield spots.
Let's see.
Texas.
You know what? If for all those people that say, "Oh, you know what? Like, I'm mad that because there are a lot of Angel fans that are like, you know what? Trout's having the worst year of his career, and I don't believe he belongs in the All-Star game." Well, another guy you're looking at, and his numbers, yes, but the batting average looks nice, but he's only played, he's been injured twice. He's been on the IL twice, but he's still kicked it up a notch, and 10 home runs, 49 RBIs for the greatest hitter of all time, Joe Madden. but he's got he's got a nice average, a kick-ass average. So I guess that's why he made it. And plus, it's a popularity contest, of course. So he's gonna get in the All-Star game. But people are mad at Seager and Trout because they're not really having the best seasons, but they're getting in. But Simeon's start was terrible this year, but he got it going. Jonah Heim's deserving. Yandy Diaz is deserving, so I'm okay with those.
It's funny, Heim, he barely took the starting role, it seems like this year. Last year they kept splitting it, but this year he took it by the horns and grabbed it by the horns, and he's going.
Yeah.
With Seager and all those Rangers, I remember Josh Hamilton saying, well, that area is not a baseball town.
Yes.
So, but I think it shows whenever the team is good, people will come out in Texas. They want to go out when the team is good, but they don't want to support, of course, when not. The outfield has Trout, Arozarena, and Judge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Judge will play, though, so there'll be a spot open. And then, of course, Shohei Ohtani's the DH. The reserves, you have two catchers, Perez of Kansas City, Rutschman of Baltimore. So,
I like him a lot, dude.
I like the whole Orioles, how they're building it up, and they're bringing up these guys, these kids, and they're all like, top 20, top 30 prospects in the whole league.
Mm-hmm.
They just brought up their third ranked prospect last week against the Reds, and he got his first hit. So it was really good to see. 'Cause I don't want to see the Yankees. I don't want to see the Red Sox. Excuse me. I'd rather it be the Rays, the Orioles, and the Blue Jays all come up like they are now.
Which is nice to see.
Yeah, I want them to have the expectations, not the Yankees or Red Sox. Also, speaking of Toronto, Whit Merrifield somehow made it with the Blue Jays. Bo Bichette, of course, did and should have. With Cleveland, Jose Ramirez. That's the infield there. And the outfield, Luis Robert Jr. made it for Chicago. You have to have one of each team, I guess, and the White Sox had to have him. I don't like... do you like that rule where one team has to have one in?
I do, because then it gives hope to that city, as bad as they are, you know what I mean? Like, to give them a chance to be represented, so...
I mentioned that because Oakland had Brent Rooker as their designated hitter for the All-Star Game selection. So there's two DHs because Shohei is also a pitcher. Austin Hayes for the Orioles. I thought, for me, mine would be one of my snubs would be Santander. It seems like, and I said he would be a really good player this year. Him and Kyle Tucker, I thought would be all-stars. But Yordan Alvarez, I don't know if he's going to play, though, but he's there with the Astros. And then Adolis Garcia will be the other outfielder with Texas.
That's a pretty good American League side. It's not bad hitting-wise.
Too many Rangers.
Yeah.
Pitcher Shohei, of course. Cole from the Yankees. Luis Castillo with the Mariners. Sonny Gray with the Twins. I think he's the only Twin. Gottschman with the Blue Jays. Evaldi, who's definitely deserved it.
Gossman's had a great season, too.
Yeah. McClanahan, who we'll talk about later.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa Bay.
Farmer.
Framber Valdez, yeah, with Houston. And then Michael Lorenzen, we know him.
Yeah.
He's the lone Detroit
representative.
Starter. Yeah, representative there. For the relievers, and this one hurts the most, I think.
What's that?
Kenley Jansen with Boston, Emmanuel Clase with Cleveland, Felix Bautista, and Yenner Cano both definitely deserve it with Baltimore.
Does Cano have an ERA yet?
Doesn't seem like it. And he made one change with his delivery. It was funny when I saw this video. He literally took his arm angle and brought it down a few inches. He went from here to here, and it's worked so well. So check out that video. I think it was either Pitching Ninja or I forget the other pitching channels on YouTube. But he literally went from here to here,
And that was
and
it.
he's an all-star. But we would have loved to see Carlos Estevez being 21 for 21 in the save opportunities be on this AL roster. But
Wait a minute. I thought Lorenzen had better numbers than this. That's it. That's his numbers.
and no one's hitting from, I guess, the Tigers in their lineup. So
2-6 with a 4.28 ERA in 14 starts, 82 innings pitched, 62 strikeouts.
as much as we like him being from Anaheim, Grillmaster liking him, of course, because he went to Fullerton. That's how bad things are right now in Detroit.
I still say that this team, is. It's funny when we talk trade talk with the Angels, whether it's on the post game, you talk with your show, we have our show, or any kind of podcast, and pitching always comes up.
Yeah.
And what have we been saying, including the series that we went to the other day? The pitching's fine. We can actually get by with the pitching. People just forget we can't hit with runners in scoring position. We can't generate offense, and the coaching just holds us back. It's like, well, if we can't hit, let's try for something else. I mean, look how we won the game the other day. It was all home runs. It was literally all home runs. There was no rallies. There was no getting guys on base. The only time there was guys on base was in the second inning when Moniak hit the home run. Otherwise, if those two guys don't get on, we have 3 solo shots, and we probably go to extras and lose. So it's terrible baseball, dude, and I think that's what needs to change. We need some freaking guys that can get on base. I think that needs to be the focus in this trade deadline. Guys that are going to generate and high on base percentage hitters or players. At this point I don't care who we give up. If you say let's give up Fletcher, let's give up this guy, I just want winning ball players.
That'd be nice. R. Martinez mentioning, was it that other baseball channel, the former Padre big pick Antonelli or something else like that? No, Pitching Ninja had the landing of Cano, and then also the arm angle, but also the Bat Boys, those guys who get to interview the players you see on the shorts. Those are the two YouTube channels from which I saw Cano and his change.
Yeah, that guy's got some sick stuff, dude.
And then Batista. Imagine 8 inning, 9 inning, you face those two guys. And Batista, he's like Jensen. Carbon copy. Throws hard. He's amazing. So I really, you have to fear those two coming out of the bullpen. And then Orioles, they have they're not reflected here, but they have great starters too that go deep into games. They're young. I mean, they can go on for a while here.
They can. Oh, real quick, Kyle Strange says best move to trade Ohtani. There isn't a trade out there that will get us to the World Series without drastically draining our farm system. We all know. Yeah, but see, the thing is, Kyle Strange, like, if we were to do that, like we've talked about that too, me and James and Fernando, it's like we would have needed a third team, and it would have been last year. You could have got the most out of 2 organizations. Instead, you're probably going to get like a desperation trade if you were to do it, and it would not come out in the Angels' fortune.
Well, we wouldn't have to wait in that hour-long line on Saturday to get his bobblehead.
No, there'd be a squid bobblehead.
Oh, God.
Restunning says Nevin tells good night stories to every player on the road. Ward and Velasquez get 2 a night, though.
Let me get to the National League elected starters. No, it's all good. Sean Murphy.
Love that guy.
It's funny because they have already Darno there as a catcher as well.
Yeah, they have 2 really good catchers, along with basically they have half of Oakland's starting lineup at one point.
What I hope is that when Guerrero comes up with Ohapi, that we have something like that.
That would be nice.
And we haven't had anything like that. I'm not saying they're as good as Mathis and Napoli. I know how you feel about Mathis.
Yeah. No, there's no.
You want a Mathis jersey?
Yeah. I want a Mathis jersey as much as I want a Squid jersey. Yeah. 2 pieces of shit right there.
Former Brave Freddie Freeman will be the starter at first for the National League. Arise definitely deserve it. We'll talk about him later. From Miami. Arenado at third base will be the starter for St. Louis.
That's a popularity vote.
Oh, yeah.
He has not been good this year.
Arcia from Atlanta.
Absolutely.
Acuna Jr., of course, from
Absolutely.
the Braves. Betts from
Hate
the Dodgers.
Betts, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corbin Carroll, who we
Much
saw
deserved.
pinch hit yesterday. He's kind of that spark, and the Diamondbacks knew what they were getting with him, so they signed him to an 8-year extension in spring. So that was really good. And then the DH, of course, and it's weird saying it in the National League, but JD Martinez of the Dodgers.
I will say one thing about JD is that he deserves it only because the fans vote him in because he's a Dodger,
Right.
number one. But number two, his power numbers are very much up from the last couple of years. So I'd give it to him, but barely.
I know he was injured with the Red Sox the last couple of years, so that's why those numbers weren't there.
Yeah.
And big expectations, too, with the Red Sox.
Oh, yeah.
The reserves, you have the catchers, Will Smith from L.A., Elias Diaz from Colorado, and we saw what he can do against the Angels. He had some power and some hitting. I think, he's the lone Colorado representative. Some more Braves in the infield. Pretty much their whole infield all their infield is in, plus catcher.
Yeah.
Olsen, Albies, and Riley. And former Brave Dansby Swanson is with the Cubs.
I would say, though, what do you feel about this? I feel Olsen should be starting over Freeman.
Again,
Yes?
it's a popularity contest.
Gotcha. Okay.
But
And that's not my Dodger hate talking. It's just the fact that because I hate Olsen too from all those days him killing us with Oakland, but I just believe he's a better hitter, dude. Like he's a better hitter at this point in his career, more scary.
didn't Freeman have probably a better average too?
I think he has a better average.
I think
than
that's
Olsen.
why he's in there,
Okay.
and because he's a Dodger.
Yeah.
Pete Alonso's in as a Met.
Courtney says Olsen. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. The outfield, Luis Gurriel Jr. That's a surprise, but that's good that he got in.
Yeah.
Nick Castellanos. Remember, he had a horrible year with Philly last year. He was getting booed. He didn't contribute much, but it's good to see him have a bounce back year.
Yeah, real quick. Justin says balls in the early show.
Hi again, everybody.
Whoops, the wrong one.
I don't want to hear that.
Tonight, it's time for you to check out what I want. I want balls and
Early show.
Tonight.
Juan Soto got in from the Padres.
That's a popularity contest right there too. Right there.
Jorge Soler from the Marlins, so they got a couple in there, and that's a rarity.
Mm-hmm.
They usually just get a random reliever or pitcher like the Pirates would. The pitcher, Zach Gallen, who we saw yesterday, I think he struck out 12
Yes,
Angels yesterday.
everyone does.
Spencer Strider from Atlanta, of course, he deserves that. Bryce Elder, which I have to do my homework of. I don't know who that is. Justin Steele of the Cubs got in. Mitch Keller of Pittsburgh got in. Josiah Gray from Washington. That's their lone national
What was the
representative.
pirate that signed the big deal? Was it Reynolds?
Yeah.
What was his name again?
No. Well, yeah, it was Reynolds.
Guy,
I forgot.
Yeah, I can't remember his first name because I wanted to see because it gave him a huge ass contract, which the Pirates never do. I would have expected him to show up and get to the All-Star game.
Yeah, Brian Reynolds.
Brian
Sorry.
Reynolds.
Josiah Gray got in. Kershaw got in. Stroman got in from the Cubs. Relievers, Alexa Diaz got in from Cincinnati. Josh Hader from the Padres. Devin Williams got in. And then it seems like the lone giant, Camilo Duvall, got in from the Giants as all the relievers there.
You know, that's a guy that I've heard so many times. Angel fans really want him, and I do too. As far as like a player from out of the bullpen, if we were to get a bullpen piece, if we could somehow swing it, but I don't think the Brewers will be out of contention by that time. But Devin Williams, dude, I mean that guy is sick. A lot of Angel fans like him.
His circle change is pretty cool. I don't have baseball, but I saw his. Oh, thank you. I love how direct everything is here.
Yeah, he's not having the best year right there. 8 homers, 40 RBIs, 275.
I love his circle change grip. It's pretty cool. Devin Williams is. I saw it on a podcast. It's legit. I really like that. And it fools hitters. That's his pretty much strikeout pitch. So I really like that. Courtney mentions screw Pete Alonso. Statistically, he is the worst first baseman fielding wise. And it's funny. Last All-Star game, They had that like workout. I think it was before the home run derby. Ron Washington, the third base coach of Atlanta, was out there like helping him, coaching him. I just thought that was cool to see. Maybe it was a put on by MLB, honestly.
Could have been.
But and since they're I made a sell. Since they're division rivals, that was a little weird. But I think that was all for show. But that's why I want Ron Washington as an Angel.
And Pete Alonso the last 3 years has been making about $600,000 to $700,000 for the All-Star game because obviously he still has not gotten his big payday. I think it's this year.
Yeah,
he's coming up. He's coming up. Epler's gonna throw a dumb contract on him. You watch, but yeah, he's having to participate again this year because you got to get that $600,000 because apparently he's living the lifestyle but not having the money yet. But he's gonna get paid. He's having himself another really good year for the New York Mets.
Okay, I'll ask you real quick for the American League and National League.
Uh-huh.
What was your biggest surprise out of all the names I read that got into the All-Star game? You could scroll through.
I'd have to say if I was going to pick one that surprised me, obviously on the Royals would be Salvador Perez. He's not having a good year. He's been often injured this year. Last year his batting average was way down. I don't know if he's already peaked, which sucks because I thought he'd be a guy that would be if we didn't know our catching situation changed the way it did. I was thinking a couple years ago this would be a guy that if the Royals fell off, which they were, take a flyer on him, try to get a trade. But that guy making it, and I think Seager should not be a starter, even though my hate for him runs strong. I like Heim, I like Jung in there, but if I were to pick one, it'd be Salvi Perez. I'm like, you got to find someone else on the Royals.
For me, and I don't have the numbers with me, but Whit Merrifield, I thought, man, I know Toronto's in it right there, but I thought, man, I would have had somebody else.
Are you surprised that they don't have
a 1T?
I'll just pick up. I keep misspelling.
That's all right.
No, but I was gonna say, are you surprised there's no freaking Guerrero?
At first base. Kind of because Diaz is starting there. Yeah, that is interesting. That now you mention that
because like Bo Bichette makes it, and I understand Bo Bichette's having a good year. He's having a breakout year. 15 homers, 51 RBIs.
I think because Rooker is the DH, so you have to have an Oakland A in there. If he wasn't there, I think you would put Vladimir in there. And looking at Vladdy's numbers, they're way better. He has 12 home runs. Merrifield, 2 home runs. He has 30 RBIs. He is hitting over 300, so I'm wrong there.
But see,
I'm sorry. He's hitting 282.
Yeah, here's the thing too. I'm looking at this right now. You have Vlad Guerrero's. I thought maybe he's hurt because it's one of those years where you're not hearing too much about him. If you hear about Toronto, it's their pitching or their clutch hitting, or it's like freaking Bichette coming through and guys like that. But you look at their team right now. And he's had 357 at bats. He's only batting 274, and he's got 12 homers, 52 RBIs. That's average, but that's like average Mike Trout numbers, where we're used to seeing Guerrero with about 20, 23 home runs, something like that right now, and it's down.
I think our biggest snub for the American League, at least, would be Estevez. I thought when you go 21 for 21, I think that should get you in, but. When you have 2 Orioles in there, that just doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
But Clase, he's not as good as he was last year with Cleveland, so maybe they're just basing it off of last year, honestly.
Justin Options says, I was hoping Brandon Belt got in.
Oh, yeah.
257 average, 6 homers, 20 RBIs.
People had – I don't know if people realize what he said, I think was, jokingly about – he should be over Shohei for that.
Yeah, well, it's gonna. Anytime you mention Shohei, regardless if it's a joke, if it's you're gonna get headlines. So I think that's what it was.
Would your biggest snub in the American League be Estevez?
Estevez, yeah. I mean, obviously his last 2 of 3 saves have been very shaky, but he still has gotten the numbers, still got the saves, still hasn't had a blown save. So I think he's. The biggest surprise is Velasquez not being there. I don't think that they would allow him to have a ticket at this point, even if he were to try to purchase one.
He'll have to style his way in there on the runway.
Hey, guys, dress like me.
Yeah. For the National League, maybe the biggest surprise.
Robert says he's glad that Estevez didn't make it so he could shove it down everyone's throat.
Yeah. It hurts him for his next contract, though.
That's true.
That's why I don't like.
Yeah.
Well, it helps if we want to re-sign him. But that's the thing. These matter to the players, to the agents, because it's like, look, he made an all-star team.
Yeah.
You have to pay us based on that.
It's a talking point.
Yeah. My surprise for the National League, looking at all this, I would kind of say, Duvall's been good. I don't know much about Diaz. You had to have a Washington player in there. Mitch Keller's been really good for the Pirates, so I think that was deserving. The surprise that Soler's been okay. I guess Soto, just because
all the turmoil and stuff down there.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good fielder. It just seemed like in the playoff series though, against the Phillies last year, he wasn't going after any baseball. He wasn't trying to catch any baseballs, it seemed like.
Yeah.
So maybe Soto with me, but his average, the on-base percentage is really good. So maybe I'm just talking crazy.
You're grasping for straws, my man.
Yeah. Gurriel Jr., we know from his purple hair and the Grand Slam on Friday. Maybe that's a surprise. That's my surprise. What would you be surprised?
Well, Gurriel's put up good numbers. I think he had something like 15 homers or something like that.
And then being traded from Toronto, you didn't think he was going to be well with this Diamondback lineup. He wouldn't mesh well. But that's another thing I got wrong. So I think that's me.
No, that's a good talking point, because this team, the Diamondbacks, they have been overlooked by everybody. I mean, if anyone told you, hey, this team's going to be good, or, because a lot of people were saying in the preseason that this team is going to be, pretty average, or they're coming up, but we don't expect them to be contenders. But
I thought third place.
Yeah, I thought they'd be fighting with the Giants for third as well. But you look at his numbers; he's batting .270, 13 homers, 49 RBIs.
Okay.
You could have thrown in Christian Walker. He's got better numbers. Ketel Marte's got better numbers. Well, actually, Marte's got the best out of everybody. 285, 15 homers, 44 RBIs.
That's a snub, I would think.
Marte's having a really good year.
David Bednar from the Pirates.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, maybe Marte, because he's having his best year since probably 2017.
Yeah, I mean,
last time the Diamondbacks went to the playoffs. So Marte is probably a snub, but they had to get others in.
But let me tell you this, and we'll bring it back to the Angels here in a second, because that's why I want to bring this up for a minute. Look at their team here, bro. So you got Moreno batting .271, their catcher. Christian Walker's .269, their first baseman. Ketel Marte's .285. Geraldo Perdomo, .284. You got Josh Rojas, who's on the 40-man roster, but he's not really the guy, because you got Carroll in the lineup. But it's .235. You got Lourdes Gurriel, .270. Thomas, who switches time with Carroll, so I'm not going to count him. So Carroll's batting .289. McCarthy's batting .251. What does that all have in common? These guys can get hits. They're not all or nothing guys. You look at their walks. Their walks are anywhere from 15 to about almost 40. Stolen bases, where is that at? Right here.
Look at McCarthy's stolen bases.
Yeah, 17. And but you got everyone in the lineup. The lowest is really like one, or by Gurriel 1. Everyone else has got like 4 to 6 to 9 stolen bases. So they take advantage of what the league gives you. You know what I mean? You got two guys on the team with 19 or what is it? Where is the stolen bases? 17 and 24 stolen bases for Carroll. This team,
I didn't even see Carroll.
Yeah, this team runs. This team runs and they hit. And that's something that I'm very jealous of other teams, or because they're able to take advantage of the rule changes, and the Angels just do the same stupid crap. And that there's a reason why the Diamondbacks are in first place, because on nights you can't hit the home run, you don't need to hit the home run, and you can win other ways and keep poking at the opponent's pitching staff. And until that changes with us, I'll keep harping on it. We're going to keep losing games despite the pitching. We need contact hitters, number one, and guys with better approaches. We need in-game adjustments, and the biggest thing that we can't change right now, because it's a philosophy, is the coaching. The coaching has got to change, because if we were to start over, last thing on this rant, because I know I'm taking up a rant here, it just maddens me when I see a lineup like this, because it's a bunch of no-namers and guys that they've brought in through the system. We could do the same thing. We have the same thing. It's going to take an organizational change of mindset and a clean sweep of the coaching staff, and just plugging in a couple pieces, probably after Ohtani's gone, to change the culture and the mentality.
I always wondered if the Angels would have traded Ohtani and Trout away, and I would love to see a rebirth, a retooling of the whole team, and how that would have gone. And now that's kind of delayed, and it will be delayed for a little bit. I've wanted to see that for a while, because this way isn't working, so we have to move on. I know you mentioned, and it's good, Nats fans mentions Lane Thomas. I know of him, but I didn't know he had those numbers. But do you see a snub in this National League? I know we had Goldschmidt. We had, who do we have in our Fernando Tatis Jr., of course. Paul Goldschmidt. In the American League, Wander Franco, that's up there as well.
I'm going with Franco. I'm going with Franco on that one, because Rosarias and Diaz are the only Rays, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Franco's a big piece of that whole team down there. I would think that I wouldn't go Tatis, because
he was out the first 20 games.
Yeah, and plus, he has the PED stuff. You never want to vote for a guy like that unless he completely reforms, but he's played into the bad guy element. Goldschmidt, we've seen there before, so I don't feel too bad for him, and it's not like he's having an MVP year like he was last year. So if I had to pick one or two, it'd either be Franco or go with a homer pick with Estevez.
And then, what was it? The surprise on the team. Definitely, yeah, I would have to say maybe, oh, God, no, Colorado needed one. That's again, maybe Justin Steele of Chicago. I don't know his numbers. Bryce Elder, but I think it's going to be an interesting game.
Is it Steele EEL or?
Yeah, just like that.
All right.
And it seemed like he just came. Yeah, 21. He's 9-2 though.
Oh yeah, that's a good record. Yeah.
And they're falling, but he's still doing well. Whenever they play the Cubs, I think the Cubs, no, they already came here. The Angels swept them, that's right. That would have been a cool series to look at, but I was watching. All right, so that's all the All-Star talk, at least for the rosters. Let's get to the second topic, Luis Arise. This dude, of Miami, he's been awesome through the first half here. He's having the pursuit of 400. The last time anyone hit 400, of course, was Ted Williams back in 1941 in either league. For the National League batting title and the overall Major League lead, Arise has an absurd 55-point lead over, or less than that, over Acuna Jr. of the Braves. So right now, the leaders are Arise at 389, Acuna's at 336. So he's Arise right now. He's definitely one of a kind. And this is after Sunday's game. My question to you, Todd: do you think Arise can get to 400 for the season, or no?
No, I think it's so hard to do what he's doing so far, and it would be amazing if he were to get anywhere above 375 for the end of the year. If he could finish above 375. Hella good. I mean, this guy's going to command a good contract. Because, again, if you tell me you can give me at least one, okay, I'd rather have three guys in my lineup that bat 300 or better and maybe hit about 10 to 15 homers a year, but driving 70 to 80 RBIs. Those are guys that are because that's what he's going to turn into this year. He's got 3 home runs, so he's not a power threat, but who gives a shit? He's always on base. He's still in bases. He's getting hits. He's turning singles into doubles. He's using that speed. His on-base percentage is ridiculous. So it's
Look
like
at the OPS.
Yeah, the OPS is off the charts. So it's like, he's got 41 RBIs. He'll probably finish with like 60 or 70. So you're talking about maybe 8 home runs and 70 RBIs. But he's got a 380 average to end the year, or 375. I'll take that 500 times out of 500. So, but I would take 3 hitters in my lineup that bat 310 or above and get you those kind of numbers, or even like 10 homers, 60 RBIs. Because in the end, you're scoring runs, you're getting guys on base for your big bats. And I wouldn't need as many big bats as the Angels kind of always do go out there. Like in preseason, we thought 5 guys are going to hit 20, 25 homers. We're going to have Walsh in there hitting homers. We're going to have we didn't even count the dude from Drury. We were counting on Renfroe. We were counting on Walsh. We were counting on Rendon. We were counting on Trout and Ohtani. We thought those 5 guys can give you 20 to 25 home runs and above, and then you just need the guys around them to do their thing. Well, that's been blown up, and then all their averages suck. So if you're able to get guys with 300 batting average, you know what a blessing that is for a baseball team. You know what I mean? Because you don't need to hit the home runs. If you're getting guys, bunt hits, singles, doubles, it extends innings, and that's why the Marlins are where they're at. They have a few guys that are not on his level, but they're having good average years, and they only got like 1 or 2 power threats like Soler, and I forget the other guy's name on the Marlins. They're just like, hey, we'll take what you give us, and they make it work.
Yeah. Knowing how tough it is, some players that got close in the past. Tony Gwynn, of course, in '94 had 394.
Correct.
And then the season stopped.
That
and never came back. George Brett in 1980, in which they went to the World Series and lost to the Phillies.
Okay.
He ended up hitting 390 for the season.
That's why he's a Hall of Famer. Great hitter.
Ted Williams himself, in 1957, one of his last years, I believe, at the age of 38, hit 388.
I hate to say it, but his body's below the ground, his head's above it.
Oh, that's right. Rod Carew with the Twins in 1977 hit 388.
Amazing hitter. I wish he was still our hitting coach, even at his age.
Larry Walker, and the stats are always bloomed in Coors Field in Denver, but I still think that's impressive because whenever you thought about Larry Walker, you thought about just home runs. But in '99, he hit 379. So
and then also his career, he was good in when he played in what is it called, Montreal.
Yeah. Stan Musial, the man, hit 376 in 1948. So those are guys that got close to 400. But either season stopped or injury stopped, or stopped a player from trying to get there. But yeah, I never knew. I didn't know he came up that early in '89. But
he was up for a while, dude.
Todd Walker, I believe. No, he got to a World Series with the Cardinals in '04, but didn't win it. He retired the year before they won in '06.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate.
Oh well.
All right, so
what else you got on the list, my man?
Let's see here. Oh, the Braves have gone streaking.
Yeah, they've gone streaking. Yes, they have.
Sorry, we're going streaking through the quad and into the gymnasium. Come on, everybody!
This season, 3 times in a row, or 3 times now, they've won 8 games in a row. I mean, that's just amazing to think. You have teams like Oakland that do the opposite. Will lose 8 or more in a row. The Pirates are a team that'll probably do that, where they've lost 9 in a row. They'll eventually lose 9 in a row again. Hopefully not, though. This time, these 8 wins in a row, they came on the hands of Miami here on the weekend. At least 3 wins. They swept Miami. Are the Braves, do you think, are peaking too soon, or are they this good?
It's hard to say given how they won their last World Series because, obviously there's been a lot in the last 20 years you've seen a lot of teams that have just been like wire to wire first place. And you're like, damn, dude. And then when it gets to the postseason, something happens and they get knocked off by a hotter wild card team or a team that was not projected to do much to get to the postseason. And I think Manfred and the others have tried to change that to give more advantages to teams that do go wire to wire. But it seems like the wild card teams still get in, like last year's Padres and the freaking Phillies were battling it out for the NL title. So this year with Atlanta, I do believe they have the horses in the team. And barring a catastrophic just meltdown in the postseason, obviously they're my pick to go to the World Series because although Arizona looks good – and they do have some fight and dog in them and stuff like that. It would take a team like Miami to go face to face, in my opinion, with Atlanta, who knows how to play Atlanta, to freaking not be scared of them, and to beat them in a either a small series or a best of 7. Because obviously you never want to face off against a division opponent. Just ask the Dodgers from last year. Because anything can happen. So, they were owning the Padres last year, and the Padres just nipped them in the butt in the postseason. So, if Miami faces Atlanta, that's a big problem in the postseason. But anybody else, if Atlanta gets out of Miami's way, I think they are the clear favorites in the AL East because they did it a couple years ago as a wild card, just got hot at the right time, and boom.
By the way, looking at the run differential, they're plus 139. I think that's the best in the whole league. I know it's the best
in the National.
In the National League.
American, it's slightly better.
156 with Texas, 157 with Tampa. So, and the Braves, they've had some key pitchers that have been injured. And then looking at their average, it's weird because Acuna Jr., of course, we know at 336. And then the next best is 270 by Austin Riley. So they have that thing where, they're doing the analytical thing where they're just swinging for the fences and they're not, just doing the regular hitting. They're not just average hitting, but that's okay.
They have the talent for it. I mean, if you look at this lineup, bro, Sean Murphy, 14-48, Olsen, 28-68, Ozzie Albies, 20-59, Arciera, he's batting 296. See, another one of those players I was talking about, 7 homers, 28 RBIs, but he's got 296 average. And then you got Austin Riley, 270, 15-43. Eddie Rosario, 263, but he's 14-40. Michael Harris, another guy, 7-22, 263, but he does get on base pretty good.
I think he's Rookie of the Year last year.
Yeah, and then you got Acuna, 21-54, 336. Ozuna, like you said, was 250, was 16-39, and Travis d'Arnaud 7-21 with a 279. So
it's nice to have those 3 players there on the bench just in case. Pilar, who can go get it. Hillard's really good, and then d'Arnaud should be starting. That's the thing. Von Grisham, the shortstop, I think he was related to Marquise Grissom.
That's just what I was going to ask you.
It's funny. He was supposed to be their starting shortstop. But Arcia, they went with experience in spring training, and then boom, he's done really good. That pitcher, so Max Fried, they're without. He's a big one. Let's see, Jarrett Schuster maybe, but Max Fried, without having him and Colin McCaw, those are 2 you're missing there, but they're still doing so well. So that's great to see the Braves doing that. And those have a really nice ballpark. They got out of the city of Atlanta. Oh, Charlie Morton is another one.
That's another underrated guy that, if you look at his numbers, right? I'm not talking about his for the All-Star game, but let me just run this by you, bro. So Charlie Morton was a guy that I wanted since Pittsburgh, but he's bounced around in the league. Obviously, he went to Houston, won a World Series there. I wanted him after Houston, because he figured it out about 3 or 4 years into his Pittsburgh career about his ERA and how to win games. And his numbers have been legitimately on par every year. Just standard 14-7, 15-3, 16-6. Injury plagued year went 2-2, but 14-6, 9-6 last year. He's 8-6 already this year with a 3.57 ERA, 100 strikeouts in about 90 innings pitched. That's really good at the age of 39.
The thing, I remember he made an adjustment the year, I think it was 2013. He literally mirrored Roy Halladay in his delivery, in his whole stretch. Mm-hmm. And, you know, God rest his soul. He was really good, Roy Halladay. But he mimicked everything about Roy Halladay, and it's led to all the success as he's gone down the years here. So that's really good to see. Sometimes you need to do that if you're as tall as Charlie Morton, and
Correct.
you know Halladay was as tall as him. You know about being tall. I don't.
Yeah.
But man, it seems like ever since that adjustment, and players, it's always a thing where if you're trying to last in the league, you'll make some adjustments. And Charlie Morton's made a career. Ever since 2013, he's made an adjustment to being just like Roy Halladay in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So let me get to the fourth topic here. The T-Mobile Home Run Derby will take place July 10th in T-Mobile Park in Seattle. Mm-hmm. Mariners star Julio Rodriguez will be there. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the slugger from Toronto. Mm-hmm. Mookie Betts of LA. Alonso from the Mets. And a Rosarena who was trying to get through that door to get into this home run derby. He got in. And I think there'll be one more in there as well, but they haven't picked him yet. Now, I used to really care about it, and I would watch it more than the All-Star game. Now I don't watch either. But who do you have winning, or do you even care about the home run derby?
To be honest with you, I don't care anymore. I honestly don't care anymore. I don't watch it anymore. Call me the get off your lawn guy, but I just don't like it anymore. I'm like with the NBA. The three-point contest died because that's all they do in the league is shoot three-pointers. Three-pointers used to be like a taboo thing, or as far as like not the norm, basically. Mm-hmm. So sort of would be like if the dunking contest is kind of boring because you could see better dunks during games, you know, like facials and stuff like that. I don't think we need to do all this crazy. I mean, what is it? What's the league that they're in? The guy's not even on the NBA roster.
The G League.
The G Leaguer won the dunk contest. So I'm not a fan of that. And I think where I'm getting at is the All-Star Game home run derby has fallen into that for me because there was only so many times I could hear Chris Berman go back, and that got annoying first. And then number two, you know, the coolest thing for me was seeing all the kids fight for the balls out in the outfield, you know, when they were short.
Yeah.
That was funny because sometimes it would hit them or they would miss it and it'd be like, oh, that guy sucks. And then it was funny. But nowadays it's like, okay.
There's less kids out there.
Yeah, there's less kids out there. And then it's just the same stuff all the time. And it ruins more players than it helps them.
You know what I've noticed? And that's a big thing. That's why I don't want Ohtani in there.
Yep, me neither.
Aldi Rushman and Jesus, thank you for mentioning that. He made the home run derby. I didn't see that. I just saw the other guys.
Yeah.
I always wondered one day, what if a player or one of those kids tried to rob one of the home runs? They'd have to stop the clock, which they added, which is cool. Yeah. I like the clock better than the outs. They seem to take forever. You have to make it a show. But I always wondered one day, you get one kid out there just trying to show out, and what if he robs one or there's fan interference or something?
That would be classic.
You have you have to do replay for a home run derby. Oh. By
the way, Robert says Todd has a plastic couch and you can't walk on his lawn. Well, you know what, Robert?
How dare you?
Let's get to some key injuries that happened last week and this week. Ohtani, of course, had the cracked fingernail, and his start was moved from today to tomorrow, so Tuesday, against San Diego. He'll play it safe. I don't know how many innings he'll go, but it's the right middle finger, so that's kind of the issue when you think about it, because you need that to spin the ball. If you're doing a splitter, you need that other finger. So that's going to be tough. Clayton Kershaw of L.A.
I wouldn't pitch Ohtani in the All-Star game. I'd say, he's on the.
He'd have to be the first because he's the starter of it.
Oh, he is? He's starting?
Yeah. That's the unfortunate thing about it.
I didn't even know about that.
So at least it's one inning and then
all right, then
that's
you're
it.
gone. Okay.
Kershaw of the Dodgers. He had a shoulder inflammation last week. They're playing it safe with him, but they were also mentioning that Dave Roberts was mentioning I liked him in that spot. I remember that soundbite of Dave Roberts, 2019.
Okay.
Of his pitching, and he failed last year in the postseason against the Dodgers, against the Padres too. He was mentioning the Kershaw start against Pittsburgh doesn't look promising. Shane McClanahan, and a reminder too with the Rays, they had Jeffrey Springs go down for the season, and they had another pitcher for the Rays also go down with an injury on the DL. So just think about it. They're doing this well with all the hitting and whatnot, but they have Fairbanks, who is out as well, and Drew Rochman for the Rays. Those are the two. Thank you. And then Rochman is out. Jeffrey Springs. So even though this is going on, they're still doing well. But Shane McClanahan was placed on the 15-day IL Saturday. Mild back tightness. He's a lefty, and he's really good.
11-1.
Yeah, that was unfortunate timing. So you know what that means, though. That'll clear up a roster spot. So maybe Esteves?
Could be.
Yeah. Matsuzaka, go ahead.
I was just looking at Glasnow's there's 5. That's crazy.
And he's coming back from an injury last year too. So he's trying to make his way, and you see his ERA. He's deceptive with the home run ball. So, he's trying to make his way back. Remember, since 2020, he's been their guy. That's for sure.
Yep.
Matsuzaka Yoshida from the Red Sox, he is their outfielder. He took a fast 102 miles per hour fastball to the right calf. That'll make you not walk straight.
Yep.
He stayed in the game to run the bases, but he's removed on Saturday afternoon. He has a leg contusion, so that's an injury issue. Corbin Carroll, who I was hoping to see more of, but he only pinch hit yesterday in the Angels series. And Merrill Kelly also was lifted on Friday. Thank you to Grillmaster, of course, for that information that we could read, but we had to hear it. I'm kidding. Carroll left Thursday's afternoon game with right shoulder soreness, but that doesn't stop his feet. Remember, he got on the fielder's choice.
Correct.
Yesterday in the 9th inning. He's considered day-to-day, aren't we all? Kelly has a lower right leg contusion, or right leg blood clot. You don't want to mess with that. So he's going to be out maybe a couple more days, or he's going to be out his next start for sure. It's just something that you have to monitor. And then with Alvarez will come back eventually for the Astros. Valdez will be skipped with right ankle soreness with the Astros. But remember with the All-Star game, that also changes up your... That also makes... I saw Robert's comment. That also changes up your rotation a little bit as you go into the All-Star break. You try to get pitchers in. I know Biera came in because they had a couple of days off in the Dodgers series coming up, so he pitched a couple innings.
He filled in, yeah.
So out of these injuries I mentioned, Kershaw, Kelly, Yoshida, McClanahan, and Ohtani, which one is the most important? For me, it's McClanahan because he's on the 15-day IL. They already have those 2 starters who are out. Despite that, they're still doing well. But that's my most important injury out of these 5.
I'd have to agree. I think you can't risk him at all, dude. I mean, he's a pillar for their team in the entire first half. You got to have him in the second half. So McClanahan would definitely be a guy that you cannot allow to go out there. He's going to be dressed up at best. Same with Framer and stuff. That's why. Here's the thing though. Like, I want to see if you agree, because I agree with you right now on that. But when it comes to the All-Star game, Steve Lee tends to say now the game's lost its luster since it doesn't mean nothing anymore. It's more of an exhibition again, whereas before they were playing for home field and everything. Does that matter to you? Because she says that makes the home run derby more fun, But I'm under my opinion is I just love the game, whether it's because as long as they're playing for heart and they're not doing it like the Pro Bowl. Where they're just they're barely playing, they're underhanding. I mean, if they turn it into a softball game, hell no, I'm not going to watch. But what I love MLB does every year is they'll bring out these former major league greats, and it gives the fans, the opportunities to take photo ops, and I love how the MLB always shows you their history and makes sure you remember their history. And then when it gets to the lineups, they take a extra long time, showing everybody and everything like that, and giving tribute to the guys that made it, whether they're bench guys or starters. So I love that about the game. As long as that doesn't change, I vote for the game other than the freaking festivities.
Oh, man.
Like, how do you feel about
all
that?
I can think about is on Fresh Prince Carlton, he's on that quiz show where you have to answer fast.
Yeah,
It's like, hey, let's take it back in the 1600s, the Aztecs. So I have to. I'm thinking about that right now. So taking it back to before Interleague, the only time you got to see, NL versus AL was in the All-Star game.
Yep.
And those matchups, right? Now with Interleague, you get to see it every year.
Pretty much.
It just depends on the pitcher, though. When he starts, it just depends on that. But so that's kind of hurt the All-Star game in that way. And I think that 2002 tie in Milwaukee kind of hurt because then they made it where it's worth home field advantage. So the regular season record didn't matter. I didn't like that. And the games didn't really have anything dramatic when they were playing for something. Other from that, it was like the Yankee game in 2009. There was a walk-off, or not walk-off, but there was like a 10th inning win by the NL, I want to say. But there was no moments you really remember that made the All-Star game really mean something to me, even though they were playing for home field advantage. So I didn't really like that part. And then when they put it back, that made me not watch the All-Star game even more. And then knowing that, hey, I have MLB.TV, so I can see any of these guys play anytime. So that's kind of deteriorated me from watching the All-Star game closely because I could watch them whenever. The Rays I watched a lot. The Rangers I've had to. White Sox just because I want to listen to Steve and Jason. But there's other teams out there like I just want to watch because they're good, like the Orioles when the Pirates are going well. So I think having that deteriorated me from watching the All-Star game. The Home Run Derby, like I said, they made it better with the timed aspects of it. And I'll watch that to a certain point, but then after that I get kind of bored of it because it's basically batting practice. And that's all you can, if you're a season ticket holder, you can go watch batting practice twice. But, it's kind of lost the All-Star game's kind of lost its way, lost its lure. I think the same way with the NBA. I watch now the three-point contest more than anything. The NBA dunk contest I'll watch, but kind of with vein because I just know, I've seen that before. I've seen that done before. Wait, a white guy won it? Okay. I was seen that before. Yeah, since Brent Barry in '96 with the Clippers.
Yeah.
96. Why does that matter?
I don't know.
No, in my head I was thinking of what year. So yeah, and the All-Star game is just like they don't play defense or anything like that. For me, it's like I just want to play all these games at the end of the year. I don't know what it is to me, but I don't watch the NHL one. I swear I was going to this year, but I didn't. But yeah, I feel like the All-Star game's lost its lore. I watch the Home Run Derby more than anything. And one thing I also want to watch this year coming up because we have two Angels in there. I forget their names right now. What was it?
Trout Ohtani?
No. The Futures game. You have
the Futures
Piero and one of our infielders there. I want to say Paris. No, not Kareem Paris. But one of our infielders is there. So I want to watch a Futures game. And that comes, of course, on the Sunday afternoon before the Home Run Derby. So I want to watch that more than I want to watch the All-Star game, which sounds weird. But I want to see the future because you see what the Orioles are bringing up. You're seeing what the Diamondbacks have brought up. I kind of want to see what other teams have out there. And if you want to trade for certain players, like, okay, I'm being a scout, but not really. But what players I want to trade for, let's say if a team's out there wanting a big star that the Angels may have, well, maybe I saw this guy in the futures game. Maybe I want him in the future. Maybe I wanted him and the other players out there. So maybe I want to watch that to see what happens. And we've seen that the Nationals, speaking of Sonia, they had to trade. They traded everybody away, but a lot of their players they got back were in the futures game. Mm-hmm. So that's why I want to watch a futures game more than a lot of other stuff. I hope I answered your question, but yeah,
no,
that's what it just lost its lore. The All-Star game based on interleague, just based on having MLB.TV. Shout out T-Mobile. That's basically it. So speaking of that, what are your favorite All-Star game or home run derby moments that you remember?
I remember, well, it's kind of bittersweet because both of them involve Angels, because obviously, I wanted Ohtani to win last year in Colorado, but, kind of messed up his swing, and it reminded me of
it was Paris.
Yeah, it reminded me of Garrett Anderson.
In 03,
In 03, he was having such a really, really good, first half of the season, and he was actually putting up really good home run numbers. And I think he had about 23 that year. And he was doing really good. And when it came to the All-Star game, he was hitting home runs like so effortlessly. Mm-hmm. No expression on his face and like usual. And he was just like, yeah, it was swinging for the fences. Looked so easy for him. And I thought, man, he's going to tear it up in the second half. And I remember my dad going, boy, I don't like these All-Star game home run derbies. It always messes up their swing. And he called it because the second half, I think Garrett only hit something like 6 home runs or something in the second half. And he was and that was part of the Angels' downfall in 03, why they couldn't repeat the postseason because their offense kind of stymied in the second half, and they weren't as good. Because that was the thing that pissed me off too. When they won the World Series that year, they didn't really add no pieces. Like the entire Stoneman crew, the general manager, and the organization was like, let's just keep the same team together. They'll do it again. It's like, no, you caught lightning in the bottle. You need to add more pieces, dude. And they didn't do it. They just basically, I think they only added one free agent, and they relied on the rest of their team. So yeah. But yeah, I think those are my two. I have to involve Angels because I really don't I have more All-Star game moments, like the actual game. Watching games like the debacle in Milwaukee.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah. Other than that, jeez, I can't really come up with too many as far as a derby because like I said before, I watched him like the one with Vladimir Guerrero and his son. Obviously, was there and he won that one, and they had good times and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Those are great moments, but I don't really have one where I'm like super stoked about it.
That's funny you mentioned 2002, and thank you, Jesus. I guess I did get it right. Paris and Guerrero for the All-Star Futures game.
Season starts tonight, by the way, Eric says.
Same thing could be said for San Diego. They lost 3 out of 4.
Season starts tonight.
In Cincinnati. One of the All-Star, and it's funny you mentioned 2002. So Bonds hit that big drive to right center, and I remember Torrey Hunter robbing him, and then Bonds with all of that strength picked up Torrey Hunter and put him back down. I remember that debacle of Bud Selig.
It was spinach.
Yeah, Popeye. I remember Bud Selig in his hometown in Milwaukee there, just standing there with officials like, what do we do? Everybody's been used. What do we do? We'll call the game. 03, I remember the home run derby. What was it, 05? And this was really the first time I knew about players losing their way in the second half from the home run derby. Mm-hmm. Bobby Abreu had an amazing home run derby that year. And then for the Phillies. And then he fell off the rest of that year in Detroit. I remember that. Mm-hmm. And then Josh Hamilton hitting all those home runs in the first rounds. And then didn't win the championship in 08 in the home run derby. I think Jock Peterson hit a bunch and then ended up losing.
Well, that's the thing that I don't like, and a lot of people that if you have never played the game before, or at least played it competitively for maybe not just every other weekend, or you play it if you have if you've ever been in a league, a competitive league, it's all about consistency, doing the same thing over and over, especially if you've gotten good at it, and it's a routine. You have to keep the goddamn routine. And they don't realize that, these guys practice for the home run derby prior to the home run derby, probably a couple to a week before, and they're getting out of their rhythm, and then you get into the actual home run derby and you're taking out of your rhythm, and then you maybe you play the game, maybe you don't in the All-Star game meeting, and then the second half starts. You've gotten out of your funk. You'd be like, oh, a couple days shouldn't kill you, but it does. Mm-hmm. For a lot of these guys, it throws off your timing because for that amount of time, you were just zeroed in on pitching, or the direct pitching, or the type of hitting needed to hit a home run, other than go out there and repeat. So, that's definitely something that makes a difference. And real quick, get on the 0-2 the bandwagon, or the 0-3 bandwagon. Basically, look at this. This is the 0-3 team the Angels came back with that finished 77 and 85. I don't know why it's goofing up right here. And they finished in third place in the division. You came with the same lineup other than Jeff DeVannen getting some starts in right field. And he had 12 homers, 43 RBIs, which is crazy. But you still had Brad Fulmer, who played a little bit, only 63 games. So I think he was hurt. That's why he played. But yeah, Rod Quinlan. I mean, look, they really didn't add anybody. I forgot they didn't add anybody.
Gary Johnson was probably the one that they added.
Who?
He was at Expo.
I mean, they came back with the same team. Like, literally, the Angels were like, nah, let's run it back. Ramon Ortiz, Kevin Apier, Jared Washburn. I mean, these guys were all like, look, they had losing records the next year. Washburn 10-15, Lackey 10-16. Ramon Ortiz still somehow got 16 wins with a 5 ERA. Aaron Seeley, who shouldn't have pitched the next year, he pitched 7-11, 5.77. I remember that year, and I remember talking about it in 2003 with my friends, and I was like, I don't care. We won the World Series. We'll be back again.
Right. Oh, Jesus mentions 2007 with that home run derby Vladdy had, and then in the game, I think Ichiro had, I want to say, an inside the park home run that year in Triples Alley in San Francisco. I always remember Larry Walker turning his helmet backwards after Johnson threw.
No, that was John Kruk.
I'm sorry,
John Kruk. That was
I think Larry I think Walker also came up.
Oh, he did the same thing?
Yeah. But yeah, after Kruk turned his helmet back around because Randy threw one way over his head. I always remember that. Fred Lynn, if we're talking about Angels, hit the first Grand Slam in All-Star Game history in '83 in Chicago. There's so much more, but you don't remember much lately that has happened because they only play a certain amount of innings. Like we said with Ohtani, I really don't remember what he did in Colorado. I know he pitched in the game in 21 or whenever it was, and that was pretty much it.
I remember as an Angel fan growing up too, either prior to the World Series win or even afterwards, the big thing with my dad watching the All-Star game and our memories that we have watching the All-Star game is, before it became either, the contest for getting into the postseason or having the what is it called? Home field advantage. It was always like, if the Angels weren't doing good, it's the American League's got to beat the National League, because the National League were, to us, me and my dad, was represented by the Dodgers. So it's like, fuck the Dodgers. Like, we have to beat the National League. I don't care if I like National League players or teams. Got to beat the National League. And so it was always rooting for the American League. If an Oakland player was up there trying to do the damage, or any of our rivals or teams that we didn't like, even if it was a player we didn't like Mark McGwire when he was with the Athletics, it's like, dude, come on, Mark, let's get a home run here, because I didn't want to see them lose to the National League. So when they had those 2 runs where the American League had those long winning streaks, I was like, hell yeah, at least we beat the National League this year. Right. So that was the only thing that I took out of it every year, was got to beat the freaking – and then go figure – the last time here in Anaheim, the goddamn National League won. I couldn't stand that.
That's right.
That was very tough to watch, because I think that broke one of the last streaks.
And I don't. It's funny. I don't remember ever watching that game, to be honest with you.
Really?
I
I was supposed to go to that game and got sick.
Oh.
And so like I couldn't go with my friends, and I was like really sick, and I was watching the game.
Thank you, MT. That was another moment because my mom's favorite player is Dave Parker, and of course Downey is Hulk.
Our guy, yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing, and a lot of people didn't know about Dave Parker, but they had a great MLB Network special about him, or documentary about him. That was really good. How strong he was, and he was an Angel. I think in '91 or '92, I want to say.
Dave Parker?
I think it was '91 with Winfield and with Dave Parker.
Probably the end of his career because,
Right.
again, you had a lot of these...
Because '90 was with the Reds because he won a championship. So, yeah, '91 with California.
Yeah, the Angels had so many... Yeah, at the age of 40, by the way.
Yeah,
But
as a DH, pretty much.
But that's the problem with the Angels, too. They used to always go out and get these guys way late in their career, dude. Like look at those years he had in Cincinnati at 34 and 35. He was,
Pittsburgh before 1980, he had just crazy years.
Crazy numbers, dude. 333, 338 average.
See, that's the thing. Players back then, yes, they hit with power, but damn, they hit with average.
They always got on
took
base.
everything they wanted.
Yeah.
They weren't told, okay, if you do this, this might work for you. No, they knew what they wanted to do. They looked at the infield or the outfield, how they were playing, and they went the other way. They took advantage of whatever the defense was doing. Yeah, '91. I think David Winfield had his cycle
Yeah, 28 and 86, 19 and 72.
in Kansas City. I think, by the way,
But look at all these years right here. A dude played from 73 to 95.
he was
God.
drafted by someone in basketball. I want to say.
Yeah,
He was really good in that with the Golden Gophers.
Yeah,
He was
back
there.
then you had a lot of two-way players,
Tony Gwynn, of course, could have been a San Diego Clipper,
two sport players.
but luckily he chose baseball. But yeah, it's amazing to think that, and there's so many players, and it's not like that now where they could do two sports. But there's so many different moments. Like you would have to go through them all. Maybe for the next show, we'll have a top 10. Or
You could pick them, yeah.
yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
So this has been a good around the league show. I mean, I think we covered almost everything.
Yeah.
There could be. And I'm kind of interested, of course, in this Angels series with the Padres. We mentioned Padres is one of the worst, one of the disappointing teams.
Padres and Mets easily.
yeah.
Yeah. Padres, Mets, and Mariners. That's who we picked
Seattle.
last week.
Yeah. With the Padres too. One thing before we go. Their TV contract with Bally's, of course, is off. So all that money that they put into these players.
They're going to have to make it up on their own.
Yeah, but
So when they throw it over to the guys and they're like, "Hey guys, let's check out on the Padres Tatis home run." That's not there?
not anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, it's all MLB.com driven. Like
okay.
there's generic rock music and the MLB.com graphics or whatever. So no, but they paid for all these players, and they were banking it on having that TV contract. And now they have to get a new deal done with the cable networks down there. So you might see a lot of players traded away from the Padres.
I'm seeing that. I'm
Yeah.
seeing that.
Because how are they going to get that money in for their budgets?
Well, that's the problem. I mean, when you sink everything into a championship run, you got to win. Because winning will cure things, and you could pull money out your butt. The team will have higher attendance, more parking. Because to me, it's not the ticket prices that get you that money. It's the food. It's the freaking parking. And
Craft beer in San Diego.
And it's the people being engaged on television, too, buying the product. And if the team is rolling, they're going to spend money the next year. And the Padres, let's just face it, dude. I mean, you had the buzz last year. You had lightning in the bottle. You went far. People were expecting big things this year, and they just aren't coming through.
They bit off more than they could chew, I feel
Correct.
like. Just their swagger and all that, it's coming back to bite them. The fans love them. It seems like no matter what, just because they're going for it after so many years of nothing. By the way, MT, and thank you for joining us. Cecil Fielder Oh, I didn't know he was from Walnut. But Prince Fielder, he had a career-ending injury, neck injury.
Yes.
I think in 2016
Yes.
or 17, so he couldn't play anymore with the Rangers. I remember Cecil Fielder with the Angels. That's the first game I went to, I think, in '98. I had that player's ball.
Oh,
It had
okay.
his name and number on it. I don't have it anymore, but I wish I did. I don't know why. I saw him hit a home run, I think, the night before, and I was like, and my dad's like, "Hey, you want a ball?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll get this one." I should have got a Garrett Anderson
He
one.
came off the World Series title the year before with the Yankees, and I remember that's one of the reasons why we got him. And he hit a home run in a game they were playing that Van Halen song Right Here Right Now, and it was pumping up the crowd. And I'm like, man, we need to come back in this game. And I went to a game versus the Twins, and he hit a walk-off. And so I was so happy. I was like, dude, this guy is legit. And it was early in the season. I'm like, he still got it. And then, he had a very average season, but yeah.
And he only retired when he was 34.
Yeah.
He came up 21. I didn't know that.
Same thing with his son. I think he had some sort of career-ending injury. But here's the thing, though. Cecil Fielder's grandson. I know Fielder doesn't talk to Prince much. His son,
Right.
They had a falling out. Mm-hmm. But there's a video almost mirroring, like, because what it was is in Detroit when Fielder was still playing with Detroit. His son Prince was hitting home runs out of that stadium.
That's right. I've
When
seen
he
that
was like
video.
12 years
Yeah.
old or something, right?
Yeah.
So the other day, or it was last year, I'm sorry, Prince Fielder was doing they either had a bobblehead or they had a promotion with Prince Fielder at Milwaukee, right? And guess who was there hitting home runs? Prince's son, which is Cecil's grandson. And Prince's son is around the same age Prince was when he was hitting home runs in Detroit. And that kid's bulky already. And they're saying that this, that could be the next fielder in the major league. So that'd be pretty cool.
That's amazing to think how it all rolls into one. Nah, man, LOL mentions if Tony participates in the home run derby, the season is over.
And Jesus wants to know if we're gonna make a wild card. What do you think about that?
Well, we remember from the roundtable, if you want to go back and watch that, I mentioned the team would go 81-81.
Yeah,
so they would not make
you
a
got
wild
some hate
card,
on that.
and that's fine. Don't bring it. No, I just felt like they didn't make enough moves in the offseason. I mean, you got Tyler Anderson. Look at him now.
Yeah.
Rendon's still going to be injured.
He was born injured.
It seems like it. So I just felt like they didn't make enough moves, and you were worried about Esteves in the in spring training. Mm-hmm. And it turns out he's okay, but it's hard to get to him if you don't have enough offense. Mm-hmm. And like I always mention on the pregame show, when you have the three phases of baseball, offense, defense, and pitching, when all three goes wrong, you go on losing streaks. When you have one of those three working, but the other two isn't, you're going to lose.
Yep.
And the good teams like the Rays and the Braves, Orioles, when all three are working, you see where they are. So I feel like this team could never be consistent with all three. Like, what's that motto there? Inconsistently consistent.
Yeah, they're consistently inconsistent.
There it is, yeah.
I always do the same thing. I do it backwards. That's what she said. But yeah, there's just a lot that we got through today, and getting into the All-Star break, it's hard to believe it's already here. You know what I mean? Because it seems like the season's gone by kind of quick. So I'm just hoping, like on years past, bro, this team has been trying to fight back and get into the postseason or get into the playoff chase, and they always seem to like start to get on a roll, and then the break happens. This year, it seems like we're limping. We're limping to the break.
Remember that 14-game losing streak happened in June, and that basically sealed the fate on the season.
Correct.
I feel like that time is not a losing streak, but the time where you kind of know, okay, if you're not going to make any moves for pitching, then you know they're not going to have any chance. You just know it's going to happen eventually. The downfall is going to happen. We'll talk about that more, though, on the Heedy podcast, reviewing what happened
with Arizona.
With Arizona and the San Diego series coming up. MT mentions I saw Cecil Fielder when he was playing with the Hanshin Tigers back in '89. Cecil and Randy Bass were gods in Japan. Reminds me of Jabari Blash. Remember that DH hitter? He put some great numbers up there. He came back and forth. It's funny how all those hitters, they eventually go to Japan and they try to come back and it's not as good. That's how Mr. Baseball. That's how that movie came about.
Tom Selleck, yeah.
I like that movie.
I did too.
There's a lot of underrated. That's another show for another day. Have like a top 10 baseball movies, and Major League 3 will be on. No.
Oh no. Who said that? Fernando always
No,
says.
I say.
Oh,
I like
you
that
like
one.
that? I can't believe you like that movie. The movie's terrible.
I don't know why.
That's like if you whenever there's no MLB games on, I don't know why they always play it.
MLB Network.
They'll play that one or Brewster's Millions.
I've never seen that one.
I've never seen it all the way through. I've seen the first part where the train's going through the
Yeah,
outfield. I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I've seen like the opening 10 minutes of it, but I can never get through the whole movie because something comes up or I leave or I'm like, this is, I'm not in the mood for a movie. I wanted to watch baseball. But just wait till the off season. That's going to be on like every other day.
Robert mentions the pitchers that the Angels could get, and I mentioned Jordan Hicks in my mind, but I didn't say it out loud one day. Maybe throw in Corbin Burns in that list, but those are pitchers I'm looking at. I mentioned Joe Kelly the other day, I think, to you.
Yeah.
I know you said, I don't want a Dodger, but
he may need
he's with the White Sox.
Yeah. Agreed. A lot of White Sox are going to be up for sale too. So.
Wow.
Interesting. All right, everybody. I think that's it, right? For
that's
this
all
show.
we have.
Yeah, and then we'll pretty much get back to you guys. And next Monday, we're going to be trying to do this every Monday morning, somewhere between 8:30 and 10 o'clock in the morning. We'll start it and do the Around the League show. So there you go. We're going to be recording right now, like he said, the show for this week. So we'll have that up later on today, talking about the Diamondback series and previewing the pods. Any last things?
Gotta turn my hat for the next show. No, it's been good. Always so much going on in MLB, and we'll catch everyone next time on the Around the League show.
Got it.